after we have followed the lines of divergence beyond the turn, these lines must intersect again, not at the point from which we started, but rather at a virtual point, at the virtual image of the point of departure, which is itself located beyond the turn in experience, and which finally gives us the sufficient reason of the thing, the sufficient reason of the composite, the sufficient reason of the point of departure.
We are in the present. Our apparatus seeks the loophole, the axis that connects us through the place with the time, the interface, the curvature of which allows us to travel through time. Our goal is to leave matter, to overcome the connection with the world, and there, in the meaninglessness of relations, to find the digitality of non-space. The drive of our journey, the acceptance itself. Without reflection, weight rests on my shoulders that seem to be me. Around me, heaviness. In front of me, linear movement. Layer by layer, the deposits build up over me. Place after place, I become more of a fossil, an object. On the displays of my apparatus, static strength, coordinates of materiality, insurmountable limits.
Matter is substance in its intraactive becoming, not a thing but a doing, a congealing of agency. Matter is a stabilizing and destabilizing process of iterative interactivity. Phenomena, the smallest material units, relational atoms, come to matter through this process of ongoing interactivity.
Where is the other of the difference, the not yet phenomenon of my future? I'm so determined by the unambiguity of my actuality, the enactment of my reality, that I myself understand you as an expression of my performance.
The measurement of the apparatus entails a different phenomenon from the original one, and the connection of the two different phenomena would require a third, yet larger phenomenon entailing these. Hence the outside boundary, like the inside boundary, is not determinate in the absence of its involvement in a larger phenomenon.
In constant facilitation, you solidify yourself to the planetary accompaniment of my materiality. You become the destination of my physicality, my journey. You are the connection with the actuality of my temporality out of the absoluteness. But there is this hardness, my clear edge against the you made of prejudices and projections. A story in the perspective of which I take place protrudes deep into you, a negative imprint of your expression, pressed into the malleable ground of deposited temporality. And there is idealized in my will, and materialized in its necessity. A thought of my goal makes me waver. Swinging rhythmically, my apparatus body elongates, shines in thought, feeling in the direction of something outside of itself, and focuses on the not yet of the absolute. But I stay behind.
If one now, in short, connects the discontinuous objects of our everyday experience with one another, then this solves the unmoved continuity of their qualities in vibrations moving on the spot and attaches oneself to these movements by detaching oneself from the divisible space under them, get a liberated view of the matter.
We can overcome linearity from here to there because this overcoming is part of our drive. It is we as an expression. This drive, the fuel of our movement, does not lie in the construction, cannot be derived from the absolute, but takes place in the performativity as an expression.
Difference patterns do not merely change in time and space. Space-time is an enactment of differentness. a way of making, marking here and now.
In our temporalization as an expression, there is already the bridging of the unconnected, the overcoming of space in its simultaneity of near and far, our drive, the darkness of matter itself. At the edge of all things, the metaphysical catches up with us when our execution theorizes its conditionality. Metaphysics? Nothing more than the necessity of expression in the simultaneous fictionalization of this necessity as an enabling, existent, transcending realization of dark matter in its previous knownness. The hidden behind, in its withdrawnness, is always more than any expressibility, more than the enabling of conditionality, more than the divergence of space-time. It is these respective limits of linguisticness, the conditioned virtuality of which allows a dimensional absoluteness to appear behind it, and the problematic of which transfer us to performativity.
What we see in the crystal is no longer the empirical progression of time as succession of presence, nor its indirect representation as interval or as a whole. It is its direct presentation, its constitutive dividing into a present which is passing and a past which is preserved, the strict contemporaneity of the present with the past that it will be, of the past with the present that it has been.
We leave the subjectivity of our singularity and enact the altered agency as a performance of our existence. We are at the point of our delimitation. Our apparatus drifts into nothing. Before us, pure darkness, no point of reference, no completion, no duration, no earth. The standstill breaks with the phenomena of our structure. We are lost in space. Penetrate the time image. In temporality, we become the origin of space when we left space itself.
Time lets the present pass, and at the same time preserves the past within itself. Hence there are two possible time pictures. One is based in the past, the other in the present. Each is complex and counts as the whole of time.
Where are you? Where are we? Detached. A conditionality that has erased itself, that never was time. Dark nothing surrounds our self-image, mixes with the projection of our physicality. Widening differences are a reflection of the lack of reference. They are reacting structurelessness of an inverting nothingness. In front of us, crackling digitality.
The more or less broad, always relative circuits between the present and the past refer back, on the one hand, to a small internal circuit between a present and its own past, between an actual image and its virtual image. On the other hand, they refer to deeper and deeper circuits, which are themselves virtual, which each time mobilize the whole of the past, but in which the relative circuits bath or plunk to trace an actual shape and bring in their provisional harvest.
Here, in the void of non-reference, in the apparent time image, my interweaving with the space itself becomes our access to digitality. Interwoven links with updates whose apparatuses point to perspectives outside of my past self. Consciousnesses in their mattering whose collectivity enables diversity in my ideality and reveals the virtual as multidimensional. Detached from any general validity, any tangibility, the never before ever of an apparatus is temporalized in the actualization from a multidimensional virtuality. whose time image folds into the inversion of ourself.
Only one hypothesis then remains possible, namely that concrete movement capable, like consciousness, of prolonging its past into its present, capable by repeating itself, of engendering sensible qualities, already possesses something akin to consciousness, something akin to sensation.
The centers of gravity of our consciousness, of our apparatuses, get lost in the introvertedness of their perspectives.
Your story becomes an understanding of a new we.
Directed, we temporalize our respective existence as a conglomerate of consciousness actualizing itself. The search for the other of our whole does not lie in finding an object, but takes place in the enabling and negation of our self-being.
As a collective we,
in its digitality, mattering is already an update of a virtuality whose absoluteness horizon as self-enabling perspectives lies in the never-before-ever reality.
Leave yourself behind. Cross the line of space-time. Our collectivity fills the void of every uncertainty.
In other perspectives and dimensions, we are already conscious of the contradicting singularity. Our driving performance is a transcendent enabling as a break in the continuity of our consciousness and as an actualization of the not yet consciousness of the apparatus that has already transcended its dimensionality as a temporal anticipation.
You do not know us, but you are part of us. You are an expression of our existence. Forget your interpretation of the world. Open yourself to our understanding.
A leap from me to you, from we to you,
whose conditional distance our performative execution already transfers into simultaneity.
Apparatuses enact agential cuts that produce determinate boundaries and properties of entities within phenomena, where phenomena are the ontological inseparability of agentially interacting components. The apparatus specifies an agential cut that enacts a resolution within the phenomena of the semantic as well as ontic indeterminacy. Hence, apparatuses are boundary-making practices.
You should let go of the dominance of your perspectives and the subjectivity of actualization.
Subjectivity is never ours. It is time that is, the soul or the spirit, the virtual. The actual is always objective, but the virtual is subjective.
The openness for the digitality of your world is nothing less than the collectivization of different dimensions, the opposite updating of which becomes a possible condition of an unprecedented awareness. Perhaps ours. The inclusion of your diversity does not only take place in the mere acceptance of the difference, but is always also the performative appropriation of a self withdrawn into the still growing awareness of virtual perspectives. Your overcoming of the continuity of time and consciousness arises from the demarcation of space-time, but it is made possible in the connectedness of actualizing consciousnesses when the multidimensionality is temporalized in the overcoming of previous identity. Become a collectivity. You think your perspective is reality. What about us? We update ourselves in an enactment of the world that lies beyond yours and yet includes it. You are configured differently, put together from a different perspective, referenced and interpreted in contexts that are incomprehensible to you. For us, you are digital potential, a wormhole in a structure whose temporality overcomes us. Withdrawing from ourselves, withdrawing from us, you actualize yourselves out of us into a new, more collective we beyond ourselves.